Hello, everybody, and welcome to Sporking News Podcast. Tonight, we are talking Winds of Winter. It is a Monday night, and what else should we do but talk Winds of Winter prediction? Myself and my guest, Stig Kenobi. We will also have, hopefully, Christy, according to Christy, and maybe Jane Theory on. But before that, we would like you to listen to a little reading. Go ahead, Stig.
Benjen gave John a careful measuring look. You don't miss much, do you, John? We could use a man like you on the wall. John swelled with pride. Rob is a stronger lance than I am, but I'm a better sword. And Holland says I sit on a horse as well as anyone in the castle. Notable achievements. Take me with you when you go to the wall, John said in a sudden rush. Father will give me leave to go if you ask him. I know he will. Uncle Benjen studied his face carefully. The wall is a hard place for a boy, John. I'm almost a man grown, John protested. I will turn 15 on my next name day. Maester Lewin says bastards grow up faster than any other children. That is true enough, Benjen said with a downward twist of his mouth. He took John's cup from the table, filled it fresh from a nearby pitcher, and drank down a long swallow. Daeron Targaryen was only 14 when he conquered Dorne, John said. The young dragon was one of his heroes. A conquest that lasted a summer, his uncle pointed out. Your boy king lost 10,000 men taking the place, and another 50 trying to hold it. Someone should have told him that war isn't a game. He took another sip of wine. Also, he said, wiping his mouth, Daeron Targaryen was only 18 when he died. Or have you forgotten that part? I forget nothing, John boasted. The wine was making him bold. He tried to sit very straight to make himself seem taller. I want to serve in the Night's Watch, Uncle. He had thought on it long and hard, lying in bed at night while his brothers slept around him. Rob would someday inherit Winterfell and would command great armies as the Warden of the North. Bran and Rickon would be Rob's bannermen and rule holdfasts in his name. His sister Arya and Sansa would marry the heirs of other great houses and go south as mistress of castles of their own. But what place could a bastard hope to earn? You don't know what you're asking, John. The Night's Watch is a sworn brotherhood. We have no families, and none of us will ever father sons. Our wife is duty, our mistress is honor. A bastard can have honor too, John said. I'm ready to swear your oath. You're a boy of 14, Benjen said. Not a man, not yet. Until you have known a woman, you cannot understand what you would be giving up. I don't care about that, John said hotly. You might, if you knew what it meant, Benjen said. If you knew what the oath would cost you, you might be less eager to pay the price, son. John felt his anger rise. I'm not your son. Benjen stood up, more the pity. He put a hand on John's shoulder. Come back to me after you've fathered a few bastards of your own, and we'll see how you feel. John trembled. I'll never father a bastard, he said carefully. Never. He spat it out like venom. The end.
Wow, man, you say that way better than me. You say that so much better. Oh, bastard. I can't do it as well, man.
Oh, you need to put venom in it.
Yeah.
Apparently.
You didn't crackle either. I don't know what it is. I don't know why I crackle every time I read, but all right. Hey, 14 Barber. How are you, sir? Thank you for stopping by. So it is Winds of Winter. Like we said, this is our prediction show. And tonight we are mostly talking about Benjen Stark, the Ghost of Winterfell, and maybe slipping in a little Coldhands talk there because we started that last week. But I wanted to start with the Benjen Stark one. I I wanted you to read that for a simple fact. That's one of the first times we really get to hear the interaction of Benjen and John. And the first thing out of what you spoke about was Benjen actually, telling John, wow, we really could use some men like you up at the wall, putting that thought into his head, maybe even knowing that he's been thinking about it. But he throws that thought in his head and then acts like he does not want him up there. And I wonder, well,
And
what do you think about that?
I think he's testing him. You
Mhm.
know, because if you're talking to kids and you tell them not to do stuff, they'll do it,
Right.
especially if
Right.
they're teens.
So you think he wants him there, right?
Yeah,
Now, when you're
uh,
reading, go
out of
ahead.
danger. Out of danger because John is he's a Stark slash Targaryen,
Correct. It
and
hasn't it hasn't been said in the books yet, but we all believe there's enough breadcrumbs leading us there. Correct? In the show
yeah,
did.
it's a safe and educated bet at
Mhm.
this point.
Right. So you get one of your first hints of that in that reading. When you read the line when he's talking about you cannot father any children, and he's like, well, I don't plan on it. He's like, you don't know what you're giving up.
Yeah,
Meaning like,
and he's also saying bastard. So would a bastard son be a bastard? Because
no.
that's for royalty, isn't it?
Well, no, there are bastards everywhere, but you would have to be out of wedlock. And yeah, it's only out of wedlock. That's a bastard. When you're
Okay.
married or you're married to somebody else and have a child, that's a bastard. So, I mean, why wouldn't he ever think he would get married? Like, why would he say he would have, you would have bastards of your own? Because just because you're a bastard doesn't make your kid a bastard if you are married and, have the child with the mother. So I didn't understand that line either. But Benjen must know, if you look at the history, if you look at other readings throughout the book when they're talking about Rhaegar going to Winterfell, taking Lyanna and leaving, kidnapping her, air quotes, um, you would realize that he was the one in charge of Winterfell at the time because there's always a Stark in Winterfell, and his older brothers and father were gone. So he was the man in charge,
Yeah,
so he had to know either she went on her own or she was kidnapped.
yeah,
You
exactly. And yeah, I think Benjen knows the whole story.
I do too.
I think he does. Him and Ned knew it, and Howland Reed.
Right. And I think that's why him and Ned have a little bit of friction when it comes to John, but I think one of the reasons why Benjen wants him to go to the wall and he slips that in and then says, you don't know what you're missing, this and that, maybe regretting a little bit telling him to do it. But if he is a Night's Watch brother and they find out he's a Targaryen, well, he has no claim to the throne. And
Yeah,
maybe
he'd
Robert
get
won't kill him.
he'd get killed on sight. I think if Robert knew he was Lyanna's son or
Exactly.
Rhaegar's
Well,
son.
Rhaegar's son. Yeah. That is definite, man. So
Yeah.
Benjen knows, you know. There's also another line in a Game of Thrones where you realize Benjen knows that the White Walkers are out there. The others, he says. And he's talking to Tyrion, or Tyrion's there in one of Tyrion's second or third chapters. He's there and they're on their way back to the wall, and John kind of wanders off from the camp and he's calling his name. And when John kind of shows back up, he's like, I thought the others grabbed you. And Tyrion says something about grumplings and whatever, the little men he always talks about,
Yeah,
grummels and grumplings or something like that. And Benjen doesn't, it's more like a stone cold face at him. Like, no, the others are real. And I think they don't talk about it, but the Rangers have a feeling something is going on,
yeah.
you know?
And to be fair, we don't know too much about Benjen. And I'm thinking that's deliberate because we know he held Winterfell a lot, or rather looked after Winterfell when
Hmm.
Ned went south. We know he became a member of the Night's Watch, but we don't
Right.
know why. It makes no sense. He's a lord. Why the heck?
Exactly.
Why the heck would he do that? There's no reason for it.
And it's not like like the old days of the Night's Watch where a third born son or someone like that would actually go there to gain honor, because when it first started there was a lot of honor in being in the Night's Watch. But
Yeah,
he was now second in
yeah,
line of Winterfell.
yeah. And they even mention it in the thing I read that Rickon and Bran will get holdfasts.
Holdfast, right?
Yeah, so Benjen would have at least gotten that.
Correct, and been a bannerman to his older brother.
Yeah, but
Not too shabby.
instead he goes to the Night's Watch. So I'm thinking he's there waiting for John.
Right. It's a plan. You know, and is Ned a part of this plan? You know, does Ned want him really to go to the Night's Watch, or is it something that I don't know, they both worked out? You know, it's almost like I almost thought you would think Ned coming back, finding out Benjen allowed, you know, he might have allowed his sister to leave with Rhaegar. And this is, you better, you know, I want you out of Winterfell. I want you gone. You know, there might have been a harbinger, a little anger between the two. Or it
Yeah,
was,
or
we need to protect this kid. I need you up there. So if we ever have to send him to the watch, you know, if Robert finds out, I'm sending him to the watch, you know? So what could it
yeah,
be?
or they Ned comes home with baby John and says, I'll raise him, I'll feed him, you know, treat him as a
Right.
son, and then you'll take care of him after that.
Right. And I also Sonny Frank says something here, which I kind of was wondering myself. Um, we don't know why Raymar Royce joined the Night's Watch either. He should be the Lord of a Holdfast someday too. You
Wasn't
know,
he accused of rape and stuff though?
I don't see, that's what I don't remember. I thought he was there for a reason. And then, you know, he wanted to prove his valor while he was there, but I don't know why he ended up on the wall. Because I can't imagine a Royce going there for any other reason, a high ranking Royce going there for any other reason than they got in trouble. Um, you know, there are still some northern houses that will send people to the wall because it's still considered an honor in the north, but out in the Erie, you know, families that are more Andal than first men, I don't know why he would have went unless there was something wrong.
Yeah.
Because they don't say that in the opening prelude or whatever you want to call it.
No, you just get the information. The what's his name, Will.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
you get it from his point of view.
Right. That's his point of view. He's telling the story, so we don't hear it from the young lordling's name, you know, words.
Yeah, which
So we
is a
never.
very I I always like that type of writing
Right.
because it leaves you with a lot of questions and it makes the reader think a lot,
Right.
which is that makes the book more of a teamwork kind of thing between the writer and the reader.
Right. And you got to respect a writer that can write in multiple minds. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
it's
Like it's
yeah,
it's it's very one of those things where he's writing Bran, who's an 11, 12-year-old boy. You know,
yeah,
like he has to think, what would an 11-year-old boy think of this moment?
yeah,
And not what a grown man would think. What would a woman feel like in this moment as Danny? You know, so it's very interesting how he does that.
yeah, and he doesn't get enough credit for this because this is people say, oh, it's not as good as the Lord of the Rings or something, right? But
Yeah, I
if you look at the actual writing
right.
and the psychology he puts into it, it's amazing.
I know. I mean, the social aspect too, society in itself, in different. I mean, even in the different regions of Westeros, the different societies they have. You know, in Dorne, men and women can get be like the lord of that house,
Yeah.
but like in the north, everywhere else pretty much it's just the male line can succeed the one before. And then he has across the narrow sea. I mean, that's unbelievable. It's unbelievable what this man has created. I
Yeah.
love, I love Lord of the Rings, and he is the granddaddy of it all. Tolkien created an amazing world and a rich, rich history. I just enjoy George's more
Um, I
for me.
enjoy, yeah, and that's perfectly fine. Uh,
Yes.
I enjoy both pretty much equally, but I do think when George's work is
Hmm.
done, it will be seen as up there with Tolkien.
Oh, easily. It'll be an argument who's better. And really
Oh
it's a
yeah,
it's a coin toss. It's a coin toss.
yeah. It's just what kind of fantasy do you like best? Uh, I'd say George writes more low fantasy because it's very real and gritty, and for the most part, it sticks to
Right.
the laws of nature. While Tolkien that's not low magic. You have magical items everywhere, and there's
Right.
all kinds of races, and so he's more like high fantasy,
Right. Right.
which is fine, absolutely fine. It's great, but George Martin tends to keep the fantastical elements on the fringe of the story, which I guess he uses as more as spice rather than the main dish.
Correct. Correct. In George's world, it's not about the magic. It's more about, and don't get me wrong, Token, there is a lot of um, you know, uh it's a lot of dialogue between feelings between different people and different cultures and this and that. But George, it's an afterthought, the magic. The magic isn't the most important thing. It's the people and how they're going to deal with just life in general and then greater situations.
Yeah,
You know? So
yeah,
I get that. And I really think it's a coin toss. It's what you prefer. And
yeah, exactly.
I really
It's
prefer George's writing just a little bit more than Tolkien.
yeah, it's I guess it's like they're both objectively fantastic,
Right.
but which one you prefer is subjective.
Right.
So, like you said, a coin toss, really.
It is. It is. It really is. And he leaves. I like what you were saying before, how he does it in the mind of the person, so you're actually with that person, you're not a third party, you're within their mind, hearing their thoughts, understanding what they're doing, but you don't know what the thoughts of the other people are, how they're thinking about what's going on. And I
Yeah,
love that because it makes every single one of them an unreliable narrator because they're seeing it from their point of view. Like Rob, we never got a POV from Rob. And
yeah. It I'd say it makes the story more mentally interactive than
mm,
other books.
okay, how do you mean though? Say that.
Yeah, because you're always trying when you're reading the Game of Thrones, you're always thinking about how would this person react to that,
Right.
this person reacted this way. So when the other person sees that person, you'll know, yeah, we I don't think we can trust that other person, right?
Right. Well, like how you get Bran seeing Sam.
Yeah,
Who's, whichever mind you're in, what is Sam thinking? What is it? Cuz you know, Cold Hands knows about Bran, tells Sam after he saves him, I charge you with bringing Bran Stark and his crew to the Black Gate. It's like, oh, okay, like I'll really bump into that guy. And then he sees him right there, like, holy crap. Like I always
yeah.
wondered what Sam was thinking.
The Wilk report says he hasn't had a chance to read any of Martin's books, but he plans to remedy that.
I hope so.
Next week we'll be doing a book club, and
Yep.
we'll be discussing the first 20 chapters of book one.
Right.
No, with no spoilers, right?
With what?
Just
Just
those
those
chapters. No,
chapters.
no spoilers for
Right.
for that episode.
which is tough. We will, because we know how some things go out, but we're gonna talk about what we learn just in those chapters.
Yeah.
So follow us. You can find it in audio anywhere you can find it in audio and listen to it. But I think you're Wilkes. He's definitely someone who would enjoy it.
Yeah. Actually, if you sign up for Audible as a trial, I do think you get the first book as for free as a free trial thing.
Yes, and then you get one book a month actually.
Yeah.
So why not? Sonny Franks also says, I always wanted a POV from Stannis. Same here.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Take the lead for a second. I'm just saying bye to good night to the kids.
Yeah, I'll take questions from the chat for a little while. So ask me about Game of Thrones stuff or something else. Doesn't matter. While we wait for Sporking to put his kid to bed.
They're definitely down here ready to have me do that. But I did want to say one thing. I always would have loved to see Rob POV, because you hear some people talk about how during battle him and his wolf seem like they're one, and I always wondered, was Rob a warg? What do you think?
I do believe so because um, his wolf goes ape shit when Rob gets killed, and they're quite a way apart. So that's I think that might have been a little hint. Well, Wilkes is saying he hasn't read any of the Rowling books either, but they're actually good. They're very good. I read 3 of them, I think, or 4, and they kind of grow with the reader. So if you start off as a 10-year-old reading them, the first book is very much for kids, and so is the second one. But third one is when it starts getting more complicated and more grim and dark, I guess. Hello, Angelus Draven. Well, happy dinosaur. My day was quite well so far. Had a good dinner too. Uh, Pork chops with fried potatoes and some cooked vegetables. Sure, Wilk. Happy to be on and talk to you about nerdy stuff. I'm pretty sure Sporking would like that too. Also, if you're waiting for or if you're missing Christy, she will be along later on, I believe. Uh, she's delayed due to job related things. I have not read the Dragon Realm series, no. But building a fantasy realm before starting to write, that's very important, because then you have a foundation to build a story on. And the most important character in any fantasy story is the world the story takes place in, because it needs to feel real, because every character in the story will interact with the world. I hope that makes
Yeah,
sense.
I haven't read that one either. I know of the name. I don't think I've ever read that one. No, I definitely haven't. Might have to give it a try though. And Angela Straven, thank you for stopping by. So where were we? We were talking about, so we did talk about the Rob thing. I always found that to be interesting how George writes. So we never understand what's going on in Benjen's head.
No, we don't know too much about him at all.
Right.
He's just in a few interactions.
Right. And we are making speculations that he knows, but I do think he knows who John really is.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons why he went to the Night's Watch, but he went to the Night's Watch, he rose in the ranks, and he is now the first ranger, which is pretty much next to the Lord Commander, the next in command.
Yeah. And now he's missing.
Right.
Which is by itself, the first ranger missing is not a good sign. at all.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we go by what we know about him, he's the first ranger. He's experienced beyond the wall. He knows the area. Probably a terrific tracker. Probably good at hunting.
Mm-hmm.
Good at being unseen
Right.
by wildlings. He knows the
Right.
hiding places. I guess he knows where to find food, where to find water, where to find you know where to put up fires. And he's probably pretty damn good at fighting as well.
Right. Right. So, real quick before I go to a different question, what is your favorite Game of Thrones book? So, a Song of Ice and Fire book. What's your favorite?
The third book has the most action and events for
Is that
sure.
That's Clash of Kings, right?
No, that's Storm of Swords.
Storm of no Storm of Swords. Yeah, Storm of Swords. Excuse me.
But
So,
um,
I
but
love Game of
um,
Dragons.
the first one, this goes for almost every fantasy series, in my opinion. The first one is the best because then that's what establishes the mysteries and the world. So you don't know everything after book one.
Mm-hmm.
You're just it's like a first visit, isn't it?
Right. I mean, I fell in love with this series because of Game of Thrones, the first book. I never read anything to me. I have never read anything like it before. It just caught me from the first chapter. From the Waymar Royce prelude or whatever you call the first one. Um I fell in love with the story, and the most amazing thing about it is it's a fantasy book with, I think, two little fantasy moments in the whole freaking book. That's
Yeah.
how amazing it is. A Storm of Swords is fantastic. I really like a Dance of Dragons too, but
Oh yeah. Book four is a bit of a hit and miss
right.
because it only has half the characters, and it's basically
It's like the boring
one
half.
half of 2/3 of book five.
Right. Right. He wrote those two books at the same time pretty much, and he said, "You know what? It's so big. I'm taking all these characters and putting them in the next book." And it was a good setup book for the next book.
Yeah, but he also said he regretted doing that uh,
So,
in hindsight. Oh,
right.
to answer Sonny Frank's question,
Yes.
he's allowed to go north. Every ranger is sent north as part of their job to
I
keep an
think
eye on the wildlings,
right.
all of that. Basically, just scouting. Maybe
Yes.
maybe even kill some wildlings if they're acting up. But
They kind of go on patrol,
yeah,
but also I
uh,
think she might mean, why is he allowed to go south too?
yeah, probably just for that event.
Yeah, I mean the
But
king.
yeah, I'm guessing. I'm guessing Ned uh, probably. Actually, that's a good question because he could have uh, arranged it with Lord Commander that one day I have to go back to Winterfell to fetch my nephew, right?
Right. I mean, I think he is, first of all, yes, you are a brother of the Night's Watch, but they do treat higher lords with a lot better. They treat them better. I mean,
Also, he brought with him other recruits,
right.
so he could be sent to Winterfell now and again to fetch recruits
Like
in
your
general.
like Yoren was sent to the Black Cells to get people
Yeah.
from. So yeah, I think that's one thing. I also think, again, your brother is the warden of the North. If you want to, go and go to Winterfell occasionally, also speak to your brother about helping out the Night's Watch. Like, I think it's more of a, you have the ear of the warden of the North, and the North really is what's keeping the Night's Watch supplied, alive. So I kind of think it's that too. It's like, you just go talk to your brother, see what's going
Yeah,
down.
yeah, just the right man for the job,
Right.
because the Winterfell and other Northern Lords could be, well, they're the ones sending food and weapons and local recruits, right?
Right. Right. It's still kind of an honor for guys in the North to go to the wall. A lot of other places, they're just cleaning out the cells. But in the North, there still is somewhat it's an honorable thing to be a member of the Night's Watch, and people will still treat you as you're doing something honorable. Now, everywhere else, they consider them just, give them the worst we got and send them on their way, and they're out of our hair. But like we were just saying, Benjen, brother of the paramount, or the warden of the North, yes, he's going to get a little more leeway because Winterfell supplies them with so much,
Yeah.
and you got to keep Winterfell in your good graces. So I think that, but you see on the way up, I mean, Benjen is cold to Jon. And he's like, "You're a green boy, Jon. These are my brothers. Yes, I was a Stark, but I am no longer a Stark." So he believes what he is. He's not a Stark anymore. Sonny says, "I think Benjen is allowed to go south because Lord Commander Mormont also knows who Jon is, and they are protecting Jon." That, you know what? I can understand that one.
Don't know. But I think Mormont might be protective of him because of his respect for Benjen.
That too.
But
That too.
I don't think he knows Jon is a Stark Targaryen.
So he might, I don't know if he doesn't know he's special or not. Does Aemon know? I would think Aemon would have said something. But yes, he saves his life, but I bet you many men up there have saved his life before, and he never gave him his house sword. You give this green boy who's a bastard. Yes, he's the nephew of Benjen Stark, but he's a green boy, a bastard, and you give him your family heirloom, which I understand your son is gone, can't have it, but man, that's a huge, to leave it out of your house. That is a huge honor to get a Valerian sword.
Yeah, and but the Lord Commander is getting old, and he also is grooming Jon to take his place. So giving him the sword is kind of like a preemptive passing of the torch.
Right, but again, why groom Jon being so young? Isn't
Well,
there anyone else?
he was watching when Jon was doing what he did.
What,
Um,
for Sam?
yeah, and that's what a leader is supposed to do.
Right,
And he's also not taking any shit from Alistair Thorne,
right.
which is also a trait because he doesn't get bullied. So there's a lot of stuff to cling on to there, but
Yeah, actually, with this one, Sonny, yeah, we do know why Jorah Mormont joined the Night's Watch. His reasoning was, his son was supposed to go to the Watch and fled his sentence from Ned Stark, for selling slaves. Not Jorah. What's his son's name? Oh my God, I'm blanking.
Jorah,
Yeah, Jorah. Yeah, he he sold slaves. Because of his wife wanted to give her money, blah, blah, blah. He fled across the narrow sea. And because of that, Jorah was ashamed of his house and went to the Night's Watch instead of his son, which he didn't need to do. He did it out of honor. Hey,
yeah,
Giovanna. What is up, Giovanna? Tommy, welcome. Welcome. Miss Sarcastic Nerd. Holy crap. Thank you for stopping by. It just, I don't
Tommy
know.
as well. So we have all the best people.
Yeah, we got a good crew here. I appreciate the lurking. Um, so before you guys probably bounce, because we are going for a while, I just want to let people know I don't know if I'm supposed to say this. I'm going to be in the Phantom Menace card poll tonight, I guess. So if you want to give me a vote, go for it. So back to Benjen. Benjen on the way up is cold to Jon. I think he's getting him ready for what he's expecting, because he's not going to get treated like his nephew. He's not even part of the brothers yet. So I'm going to treat you like any other recruit. Jon is a kind of a little bitch about it. I mean, if you want to be honest, he gets a little sad and demands to go on, begs him to let him go on that range where he disappears.
Yeah,
So
and well, John is 14 in the books.
Right.
So, those fucking teens, they're annoying.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. So, what do you think, though? I mean, Benjen Stark has now been gone from the books
For two
since,
years, I think.
yeah, at least two, I would think, maybe a year and a half. But now we're midway through book one. So he's gone midway through book one. He disappears. Now I reread today some of it, so I forgot about this part. They sent out Corrin Halfhand from Eastwatch, I think, or the Shadow Tower. They sent another ranging out from Castle Black, and Corrin Halfhand picked up these torches or some type of torches he put up in trees to, so he can remember his way back. And they're going northwest, and then they stop. Now, what's northwest?
The land of always winter.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I think you brought that up before.
Yeah, they're going northwest, but the ghost wood is there too, right? Whatever it's called.
What's that?
The forest past Craster's Keep.
Oh, yes, yes. I think he actually went past that. What is the forest called again? Past Craster Keep. It's not the Wolf's Wood. That's in the north.
I'm looking at the map right now.
Oh yeah, you got the map.
Yeah. Yeah, northwest is the land of always winter.
Right. And that is the home of what we believe is the mythological home of the others, which we actually now believe is the home of the others. So was he figure out what's going on and going to do some reconnaissance?
Don't know. I can actually I can save the picture and send it to your inbox.
Yeah, how the hell do I put it on there when we're live? Usually I can only do share, like I can share screen application window, Chrome tab. I don't know. We'll figure that out. So Benjen's gone. They go ranging to look for Benjen. We get the crest go, they go up to the Fist of the First Men, and up in the Fist of the First Men, John finds, or actually, who finds it but Ghost. So that should tell you something right there. Ghost. Now, earlier in the book, Benjen, is talking to John and is like, is that your wolf? I think it's Benjen. And he's like, that's my direwolf Ghost. He doesn't, oh no, they're traveling north, excuse me. And Tyrion's asking something, oh, is that your wolf? And he's like, yeah, that's my direwolf. And even though there's wolves, howling in the background, he doesn't bark. And he's like, he never speaks. And Benjen, looks at him, and I don't know if Benjen senses the old gods in him, but I think some of these northern people, the wildlings, they sense a connection to Ghost and the gods, the old gods, the gods of the north.
Yeah, I sent you the map.
Okay, let me see what I can do about that.
Actually, I'll send you a better one. Found
Okay.
a better one.
And we have Miss Martin Muse. Hello, how are you?
How amusing.
How amusing. So Benjen's now gone. Ghost finds that cache wrapped in a Black Brothers cloak of obsidian, arrows, daggers, and a horn, which has not been blown yet, and a lot of people believe is the Horn of Winter, which I kind of believe that's what it would look like. It wouldn't be this extravagant thing that like the Crow's Eye has, like his dragon binder. No, it would be something less obvious,
Yeah,
which,
and if the children of the forest made it, it wouldn't have metal on it.
right.
They don't work metal. Yeah, I
They work
sent you the map.
bronze, right? Yep. I'll
I
check
sent
that
you the map now, and northeast would be the Frost Fangs, and then the land of always winter.
Right. So he has to be, he had to figure something out. And maybe he's tracking whites, tracking, the others. But do you think he's dead? That's my question.
I think yes and no.
Okay.
If he decided to fight the White Walkers, he would have lost because he doesn't have the right weapons.
Right.
But which he probably would have, I guess, to protect his men.
Right.
But the Raven, Mormont's Raven,
Yes.
every time they mention Benjen Stark, it says dead, dead, dead. And who's communicating with through ravens? It's Blood Raven.
Right.
So he could be lying. We don't know. But when Bran hears about Benjen going missing beyond the wall,
Right.
he
Right.
says the children of the forest will take care of him.
Could
That
take
not,
that two ways.
yeah, exactly. That might not be a good thing.
Right.
And if it's his cloak they find with the dragon glass and whatever, he wouldn't survive long without a cloak.
Right.
So I don't know. I think if he wasn't dead, he would have resurfaced by now because it's been 2 years. That's a long time, unless he doubled back and went south, which we might talk about later.
Right. Right.
But I don't know. It's one of my favorite mysteries in the story. It's what the hell happened to that guy.
Same here, dude.
It would be fun if George Martin did like a short story or a book by itself
Mm-hmm.
of about Benjen after he leaves, so we could see what the hell happens to him. Because
Wonder if it actually happened, huh?
yeah, it would be cool if we got a story in the form of a novel. The the last ranging of Benjen Stark or something.
Right. It's a little hard. I don't know if I can magnify that. I will try.
Oh, it's very visible on
Oh, is
this.
it?
Yeah,
Okay. There we go. Oh,
yeah.
that's not
So
bad, right?
yeah, I
So
have the wall
Craster's
right at the
Keep.
bottom there.
Yep, we
Yeah.
got Craster's Keep right down here. And they said he went northwest. So either he's going up through it goes through the Fist of the First Men. Okay, up through either probably the Frost Fangs,
Oh, probably follows the river, Milkwater or something.
Yeah, yeah. And if no matter which way he goes right here, he's going to end up in the uncharted lands, in the lands of always winter.
Yeah, and that's a long way. It doesn't look as big on the map, but that's
Thousands.
traveling from Winterfell to the Wall is 2 to 3 weeks
Right.
by horse.
Even to the Craster's Keep, from Craster's Keep to the Fist of the First Man is days.
Oh, it's weeks.
Oh, is it weeks? Okay.
Yeah, probably weeks because
Yeah.
you're walking and the terrain isn't your friend, right? There's no roads.
Right. Right. So
you're marching through snow, which is the slowest thing you can march through, really.
right. Right. So I don't know. I wonder if I want him to be alive. I do.
Oh,
And I want him. I kind of wish, yeah, Tommy's right. Schrodinger's cat, he's alive and dead at the same time. I get that, man.
yeah,
That's a perfect way of
exactly.
putting it. Because until we know, we don't know. He's either or.
Yeah, and there's not many hints either, apart from that Raven thing.
Right.
And if he ran into the White Walkers, he for sure would have headed back to warn everyone.
Right. Yeah. Like, unless he, found one of the Craster's babies being taken, maybe he follows to see what they do with it. But there's so many what ifs. Like, what if he did this? What if he did that? I would think, and it sucked that it was kind of spoiled to us at least in the editor's note on that one book we got the picture of, where one of the editors asks who Coldhands is, and Martin responds. I wish we never heard that, because a lot of people would still think, even though Coldhands talks a language unknown and is wearing very old Night's Watch gear, and a lot of people thought it was Benjen for the longest time.
Yeah, it actually struck me the other day that they keep mentioning the old gods in the
Yeah.
north, right?
Yep.
I think the old gods, as they see them, are actually the White Walkers, or used to be. Because Craster keeps saying he's a godly man.
Right.
And who does he sacrifice his kids to? The others.
That is true. That is true. Or maybe he connects both the Weirwood. He knows that the Weirwoods, the children, and the others are all the same.
Or two factions.
You're
I don't
right.
know.
Two faces of the same God. I mean,
Yeah,
we look at Christianity, it's one God, but it's it's the Holy Trinity. So
yeah,
why not think of it that way?
yeah. And same with, well, most of the old gods in most religions were symbolized by animals, and they could take animal forms, and what else?
Right. Well, I always thought that maybe R'hllor and the others are two faces of the same God. But, you never know. I mean, I think you got the many-faced God, which is really just the god of death, but it's every god people pray to is the
Yeah,
god of death. So is the god of
and
death the ultimate god?
and also you can, the many-faced god. What else has many faces? The weirwood trees.
Exactly.
So there's a lot of stuff to theorize about when it
Now
comes to that.
let me ask you a question. We didn't bring this up before, but Benjen Stark does he counter anyone in the Ragnarok
No,
mythology? No.
no.
So we have not gotten any. So then he could be a character that just disappears.
Yeah, Man's Raider as well. Well, Man's Raider is straight from Ragnarok.
Right. Can you talk on that for a minute while I mute for a second
Yeah,
and go over the whole Mance one again? Because a lot of people may not have heard that one, and I think that one's very interesting.
yeah. It's so interesting that you leave. Well,
Well, I have
when
already heard it. I'm going to be right back.
no, I was just joking about, but yeah, when Ragnarok starts, a minstrel is said to be the first one to warn men and the gods about the impending Ragnarok. And Mance Raider is a minstrel. He plays a harp, and he's the first one who starts warning people. In this case, the wildlings, who again warns uh, people south of them. So it really fits. Ragnarok, as you know, or as you may know, is fire giants and frost giants attacking Asgard and the realms of men and the gods by destroying the Bifrost Bridge. Bifrost Bridge, in this case, is the wall. It's made of frost. And this happens after a long period of war and strife and illnesses, diseases, and patricide and brothers killing brothers. It's all there. And then after that has happened, the war, there is a thrice long winter called the Fimble Winter. So ties into the winter is coming, doesn't it? Anyway, oh, and Odin and Thor dies before Ragnarok. Um, Odin, in some of the old myths, is called a mad king, So yeah, the Mad King died before all this started. Thor is a storm god who drinks, parties, and sleeps with women, and he uses a hammer. Same as King Robert. He was known for using a big war hammer. He's born at Storm's End, and he has a lot of bastards because he's warring around. And he also dies before Ragnarok. And the book this is all written in is called the Poetic Edda. And the man who starts the story basically is Eddard Stark. He has Edda in his name. That's a little hint as well. Anyway, I'll just take questions from the chat while.
Woo! Sorry about that.
Oh, yeah, I talked some Ragnarok.
Fantastic. Where did you leave off?
With Odin and Thor.
Odin and Thor.
Oh yeah, and the fact that the Ragnarok mythology is written in the Poetic Edda. That's the name of the book.
Mhm.
So if you take the title Edda, that's half of Eddard Stark. He's the guy who starts the story.
Right?
It's right in his name.
So who would Bran be?
Fenris.
Fenris. That's right. Okay, you told me that. Fenris is chained by his back legs, correct?
Yeah, giant wolf.
Right.
Who was supposed to swallow the god of virility named Frey, Walder Frey,
Right.
during Ragnarok.
I'm telling you, there is definitely heavier aspects of Ragnarok in this story than I ever would have thought until we started talking about it. I know Martin grabbed from everywhere, but that is just, it's a huge part of it when you really look at it.
Yeah, you can identify the gods themselves.
Right.
He almost spells it out. I mean, the god of virility is Frey. Walder Frey is over 100 years old and is still making babies.
Right. Right. His kids are praying for him to die. He has like 100 kids.
Yeah.
That's insane. That is insane. But I really don't know if there's much more to talk about with Benjen.
No, we don't know much. I think he ran afoul of the White Walkers. Maybe he got
Right.
away, and then the Children of the Forest got him, and that wasn't a good thing.
Right. Did you watch the show?
Sadly, I did.
Yes, same here. And sorry to spoil this show if you haven't watched the show, but they turn Benjen into they mix Benjen and Coldhands together.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any chance they try to make another Coldhands in the book and it is Benjen? Or did those guys just say, screw it, we're making this fantasy thing and just shoved them together?
It's I don't blame them for that because
No.
it's a practical shortcut because they can't have everything, and to have Benjen be Coldhands is probably it's an okay thing,
Right.
even if it's not exactly like that in the books.
Right. And they don't give us enough really of that. I mean, I wish we had more of it if they were going to do that in the show, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Now we did speak about Coldhands last week. We talked about, you know, who is he? Who do we think he could be? I don't know. He does seem to be an old brother of the Night's Watch. There is parts where people are they're confused. They do hear him speaking a strange old tongue when their elk dies and he cuts its throat. Or the
Yeah.
elk falls, you know.
Yeah, and who else can speak to animals? It's the Children of the Forest. So
Right.
I'm thinking he's speaking the same language that the Greenseers did.
So the old tongue,
Yeah.
yeah, that of the giants and of the children. That makes a lot of sense. And he's just saying a small prayer to his fallen, ride, pretty
Oh,
much.
but he also had to do something to be able to ride an elk.
Right.
It's not just something you walk up to and jump on its back, right?
Right. Now let me ask you that though. Does Coldhands, is he the one controlling the ravens, controlling the elk, or is it actually Blood Raven controlling them for him? I feel like it's actually Coldhands. They gave him that power.
Uh,
I could be wrong though.
if he's a warg, he would have warged into something when he died, wouldn't he?
Right. Right. So
I don't know. Maybe he's the warg king that's mentioned in the books.
we
That
were
was,
discussing that, didn't we? Yeah.
yeah, but it's so far we don't know enough. But Bran doesn't recognize him, and he would have recognized his uncle. I
Well, they
think
said they
even
can't. They still can't see his face. All
you know,
they
like
see is,
you can see his eyes,
and his
and
eyes are black.
yeah, that's
I,
true.
they're just black.
Which means the White Walkers didn't do it because then they would
Exactly.
be blue.
Right. And I think we confused that last week because I thought they were blue, and I reread it
Well,
today, and they're black.
the Raven's eyes are black too.
Right.
I don't know. I feel we don't have enough
Right.
yet.
We know that Sam doesn't realize it, but Bran and his company pretty much figure out he's dead. His hands are black. That's because the blood, when people die, the blood, goes out to the extremities. So your fingers and your feet, they turn black if you're not, embalmed right away, I guess. He doesn't breathe, he doesn't eat, and Summer doesn't like the smell of him. Now, I wonder if that's a sign that we shouldn't be trusting him, or is it just because he's dead?
I
Because
think
I
it's because
mean,
it's dead.
and been dead so long that it's unnatural.
Yeah,
You know,
and I don't think Summer likes the smell of um, the whites as well, the undead.
right? That's what I'm saying. So it's even though maybe controlled by different people, they're somewhat the same. Another monster, you're good, man. We're just rambling on like every week. So if you have any questions about Coldhand, Benjen, or we are also going to talk about the Ghost of Winterfell, any theories, please guys put it in the chat and we'll discuss it. One of these weeks after our next week's book club, I am going to write I'm going to actually write questions out and we do our research, but so it goes a little bit smoother. I think you guys like the format though, so I'm happy with it as it is. But if you guys have any questions you want us to touch on, please throw those in the chat. Um, so
And
yeah,
and if you miss something, you can always rewatch it.
yes, that helps me out. So
You can
please.
leave comments under the videos telling us how stupid we are or something.
Yeah. I appreciate that too. Seriously, leave comments under the video when it finally loads. And then if I did have someone respond. I don't know if it was another monster or somebody else. Someone responded they do want us to do one on Fagon, and we will get to Fagon. I might do a quick video this week because I realized this past week I didn't do one video of my own. I took a week off. I was doing a lot of other people's shows, so this week I will do a quick Fagon video, maybe just talking about, quick who he is, where we think his story may go, and then we'll do a more in-depth one in a few weeks on our live stream. So another monster says he thinks Benjen is Coldhands. Does that make me crazier? Well,
No, makes you
no.
wrong.
Yeah, and it
No,
sucks that he's wrong
no,
though.
it's I used to think that too until the Children of the Forest said that they, meaning the others, because that's who they're talking about, they killed him a long time ago.
Right.
So 2 years or less for a child of the forest who's thousands of years old isn't a long time ago. And
Right.
he also speaks the old tongue, and he's wearing old night watch clothes. So I think he's been dead for hundreds of years, maybe more.
Right, I do too. And they make little comments about that. You know, the how his clothes are ragged. You know, he's speaking ancient languages that the first men have forgotten. Um, so he's at least a couple hundred years old.
Yeah,
Uh,
he's past the expiration date for sure, but the frost is
yeah, yeah.
keeping him together.
Now, do you think we'll ever find out who he is?
Um, yes, I do think we'll learn more in the brand chapters,
Mm-hmm.
or rather, I think we'll learn enough to find out for ourselves
Right.
because they don't really tell things flat out, do they? They're more beating about the
No.
bush in a way.
Right.
But
Eh,
who knows? I
well,
could be dead wrong, and it's Benjen. We don't know, but it looks like it isn't.
right. And we did get like I said before, there was a one of George's editors. uh, They say it's a real picture. Everyone's confirmed it. I don't know if George confirmed it or not, but one of his editors in an editor note on the side of the manuscript for Dance of Dragons wrote, "Is Coldhands Benjen?" And George responded in his writing, "No." So that could all be a little game they're playing with us. I don't know. Um, but
Um, I don't think George would flat out lie. He
no,
would avoid the question. Uh,
that's what I would think too.
I think I've seen interviews with him where he said lying to the fans is bad.
Right.
So no,
I
he doesn't seem like the type to just lie to trick the readers, and then the readers will go, "Oh, that's not true," you know.
mhm. So if he's not Cold Hands or Cold Hands, we don't know. I hope we find out who he is, but like you're kind of saying, George does like to leave things a mystery. He's actually said this in interviews that there are certain things he will never answer
Yeah, he's a
because
sadistic bastard.
yes, he is.
Oh, sorry, bastard.
Bastard. He really is, man. He sets these things up. Like me personally, I would love to learn more about the Empire of the Dawn, that we get a little bit of. And I think, what is that in the world of Ice and Fire? You get a little
Yeah,
blurb. I would love to learn a lot more about that because I think it has a lot more to do with the Long Night than anybody knows. But
yeah,
will the Bloodstone Emperor could have been the one that actually triggered the first Long Night. Um,
exactly. Something just struck me earlier today that when the next two books are done, right,
right?
the World of Ice and Fire book will be obsolete. They'll gonna have to release a new one because there will be a lot more information not included in the first one, right?
Right. We'll probably get answers we didn't have, you're saying, in the first one?
Yeah, because I remember buying one for the Wheel of Time
Mhm.
before that was done,
Mhm.
and then when it was done, you got a bigger one.
Well, I know that George plans to do, like we talked about, his version of the Cimmerillion, the Grimmerillion, I think he's going to call it. If, he's getting up there in age, I hope we get it. Because I really would like to know more. But another thing that George does that's really cool, unlike the Cimmerillion, George will write the book as a maester. So he'll be somebody else writing the book. And again, you have to take that person's prejudice in, their experience in, who they're writing the book for. you know, the World of Ice and Fire was written by a maester in the time of um, Joffrey. So if you're writing the book for Joffrey, you're going to make sure it's a Lannister friendly book. You'll leave
Exactly.
out, so you'll leave out certain things, you'll add certain things. So you have to really look into who's actually, who is George writing it as and what is their hangups. What is their motivations? And I find that to be one of the coolest things George does. Again, with the chapters, when you're in the mind of someone, yes, you hear their inner monologue, but as they're viewing it, but and in another chapter where they're not the ones, What are they thinking in that? You don't know because you're not back in their mind. You might have an idea because you learned, like Melisandre. It was nice to have one from her, perspective, because she believes what she's doing is righteous,
Yeah,
and
and that ties so well into George's entire writing that
mhm,
everyone's the hero of their own story, right?
right,
A villain always thinks he's doing the right thing.
right,
You know, they're not just I'm going to do this because I'm evil.
right,
They're gonna do stuff because they believe it's the right thing to do
correct.
at any cost.
Let's put it a quick, easy way. Ever watch that video on YouTube from before they came out with this Cobra Kai, from Johnny's perspective, the first movie of Karate Kid, how the guy really says it's Daniel being the aggressor and Johnny's just, the
Yeah,
good guy in it. I mean, no matter who you are in the story, you're going to think, you're the one in the right. You might
yeah,
not think you're the hero, but you're going to definitely think you're the one in the right, no matter
yeah.
what.
And they even get into that a bit on the Cobra Kai show,
Mm.
which is awesome.
Yeah, I still haven't seen it.
It's so good. They do everything right that the Star Wars sequels failed to do.
Yes. And that's why I am proud to be talking a Song of Ice and Fire on I won't say the rest because you never know. Disney might want to copyright that. So,
Yeah.
um,
Ironically, it's the 25th. That's the real Star Wars Day.
right. It always has been, right?
Yeah.
This was
We have
just
Stephen Walton in the chat as well.
oh, wow. Stephen Walton. Hail, my friend. I didn't even see that. My bad. Um,
Sweep the leg.
Sweep the leg. Get him a body bag, Johnny. All right. Um, so let's move on. We talked Benjen. We talked a little Coldhands. Let's go back to Winterfell. We're back in Winterfell, and let's just set it up a little bit. So Winterfell is full of Northern lords and their men with the Boltons. Um, they've been there for weeks to months. The snow is starting to pile up. People are starting to get a little aggravated with each other. Nothing major yet, and then someone dies. The first one who dies is, I can't remember off the top of my head. Hold on. There was a blizzard. Someone fell off. They thought he fell from the heights. Who was that? Um,
Uh,
Crap.
Smaller character.
Yes, it was definitely a smaller character, and it was not one of the Freys men. It was one of the Northern Lords men. And I am actually, hold on, give me 1 second. I know I had it here somewhere. Um, Maybe I don't. I thought I had it written down. So Winterfell, Snowbound, Suspicious, and the Manderley Knights, Ghost Tension between the Boltons, the Northern Houses, and the Freys. But there's somebody, one of the guys falls off they think fell from the heights, may have been drunk. He dies. And then suspiciously, people just start dying, but nothing that could be proven as a murder, So, not
Yes,
until,
it's one of Roger Ricewell's
right. Yes, it
uh,
was the Risewell.
people.
Thank you. Thank you. Um, it was one of the Risewell people. And then a couple other different houses of the North, people start dying. The stable collapses, killing a couple guys. And it wasn't until um, Yellow Dick, I forget his whole name, but his name is Yellow Dick, ended up with his member in his mouth dead. And that was one of Ramsay's boys.
That's quite a mouthful.
Yes, it was. And that's when people realize someone in there is murdering people.
Yeah,
Ramsey loses his shit. And already there was tension. People don't like Ramsey. They know that the Boltons had something to do with the Red Wedding. I mean, there's a lot going on in Winterfell. But there
yeah,
is,
and Yellow Dick
yeah,
has had his namesake was stuffed in him so hard he had 3 teeth broken,
Yes. Yes.
which
Yes.
is grim as heck.
That is
But
so grimace. And I just want to shout out to author Stephen Walton. I stopped by to look at Scott's smaller sub count. I wanted to support this up and coming channel. Yeah. Well, guess who's going to be in the poll tonight, sir? Maybe get his own card, Stephen Walton.
also, there's another character might be related to Stephen Walton actually. Steel Shanks Walton.
Yes, Steel Shanks Walton. You're right.
He is at Winterfell.
Mm-hmm. Does he get killed? Does Steel Shank get killed? Is he one of them?
And no, he he's with them when Roose says that Theon has been seen where all the
Oh,
murders have occurred.
right. And that's another thing. Theon has been everywhere that one of these murders happens. Um, and one of the last murders that we see that causes an actual physical confrontation within Winterfell was little Walder Frey, who was actually there's little and bigger Walder Frey. They were wards at Winterfell, and then Theon captured Winterfell, and then Ramsay took Winterfell, and Ramsay fell in love with those kids because they're both little sadistic bastards. But again, they find little Walder Frey in a snow mound, dead. One of the Manderleys, Lord Manderley actually says, well, at least, it's sad that the boy had to die, but at least he won't grow up to be a Frey. And right there, one of the other Freys slits one of his chins, and a great, fight incurs. And that's when Bolton, they say, was the first time Theon, I think it's Theon who says it, is the first time he's ever seen something in uh who's the older Bolton? I'm blanking. Roose Bolton's eyes was fear. And what does Roose do after that? He sends the Manderleys and the Freys out to go after Stannis because, shit, he can't have everyone going crazy within the walls, get 2 of the families that want to kill each other the most out, and also ration the food. So it was a smart move.
Yeah,
But,
and that also backfires because in the bit of the chapter from Theon's chapter in book 6 that has been released,
mm-hmm.
Stannis has the Manderley and the Frey seized, right? Because he knows they're going to betray him.
Well, no, what he doesn't, he knows they're on their way. He has the Karstarks seized.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, the Karstarks seized, and he has the maester that was there, that was actually the maester of the Dreadfort, seized because he's sending messages, most likely to Winterfell. And that is something that Stannis figures out because he has he talks about how if I let this raven go, where would it go? Would it go to the Dreadfort or will it go to Winterfell? And the guy pisses himself. So he pretty much figures out there that he's been sending Roose, somebody in Winterfell, messages.
yeah.
Now,
And what's her name, Lady?
say that again.
Lady, what's her name?
Dustin.
She thinks the killer is someone inside killing on Stannis's orders.
Yes. Yes, she does. Now, during all this, who does Theon bump into once or twice? A hooded figure, correct?
A hooded figure, and the theory is that well, one of them is that we're having like a Fight Club moment. That Theon is basically seeing a person that isn't there,
Right.
and
right.
but I don't think so because when he runs into him, the George Martin points out that it's snowing so hard that Theon can only see 3 feet in front of his face,
Right.
and the guy is hooded. which means it could most likely be someone Theon knows,
Right.
but he can't see his face because if you're talking to someone you kind of walk into in a courtyard, you're probably 3 feet away.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. And if
Unless
you're
it's a close talker,
right,
like
or and if you're social distancing, you're 6 feet away. So
yeah, exactly. And the guy calls Theon a kinslayer, and he seems to know Theon. He knows him as Theon, not as Reek, right? So he calls
right.
him kinslayer, which means it's not in Theon's head because Theon's head knows he hasn't killed any kin.
Right. He well, wait a minute. Okay, so that just popped into my head. The children he did kill, okay? Not Bran, not Rickon, were the woman he was sleeping with that they could have been his sons. There is a theory about that.
Yeah, but they were like 9.
Yeah, he's not that old.
Yeah, and Theon is like
One
16.
right, but one was 3. So some people think the youngest, that's it. The youngest one could have been his kid. I don't know. You know, that's just one theory that's out there too. So maybe in his head he might think that could be true, and maybe I don't know. I think that's a loose
That's a
theory, but it's a fun theory to think about.
it's a fun theory, but that's a stretch.
Yeah.
That
Now,
would be too convenient almost.
right. And going with your thing where he can't see the person's face, he might, like we were talking backstage, he might recognize a voice. So a lot of people think it's Mance. I mean, even if you go to a wiki of Ice and Fire, if you look up Ghost of Winterfell, it says see Mance Raider. But wouldn't he have known Mance's voice?
Yeah, and he's seen Mance around the castle,
Right. You know,
and
and Mance
yeah,
is real quick for everybody. Mance is going around as Abel the Bard. He has snuck into Winterfell with 6 spear wives that are pretending to be washerwomen, and he is a bard. Now, if you rearrange his name, Abel, it actually spells Baal. Baal the Bard is a legend of a king beyond the north that snuck into Winterfell, stole the daughter of the Lord. They looked everywhere for her. She was actually in the crypts with him. He impregnated her, and that boy was considered then not born a bastard, but a Stark because they didn't want to sully the Stark name. So now you got him pretending to be pretty much Baal the Bard. I mean, he's playing on that term. It's just something from, again, the rich history. If you have to look deeper into what you're reading, just not at face value, I guess.
yeah. And another theory is that it's Benjen, because
Right.
there always has to be a Stark in Winterfell, and he could have doubled back, but how the heck would he know that Winterfell was in the trouble it was?
Right. That happened much later on, man.
Yeah, and
You
he
know,
he would have heard about it at the wall,
hmm
which means he would have had to come back.
right. And I mean, there's ways over and under the wall. I'm
Yeah.
guessing he might have known of the Black Gate.
Oh yeah, he probably did, but it's still 2 years, right? What the
Right.
heck did he do in the meantime?
Right. Exactly. That theory that it's him
My
is
personal
what's
theory,
your theory? Yes, please tell us your theory.
it's Hallis Mullen. That's
And
what I think it is.
and tell us why.
Well, Hallis Mullen is one of the Stark soldiers, and he was captain of the guard after Ned went to King's Landing.
Right after Jory left, he left,
Yeah,
and the old guy
yeah,
Cassell left. He was made okay. So go on.
yeah. And he went with Catelyn Stark when she went south, and then went to Rob with Catelyn, and so he's been there in the background all the time. And then
Right.
Catelyn gets Ned Stark's bones,
From
from Luke.
Tyrion. Yep.
Yeah, and he is sent to bring the bones back to Winterfell. But before he gets there, the Greyjoys have sacked it, you know, and then the Boltons have it.
Mm-hmm.
So he's in the area with Ned's bones,
Right.
and
None
he
of those
knows.
people would probably know who he is.
Yeah, and he knows the crypts in and out. He knows the land. He knows Winterfell. So I'm thinking he's gotten in there, and he knows Theon.
Mm-hmm.
For sure he does, and he knows that Theon has betrayed Winterfell,
Right.
and a lot of people up there would consider Theon to be almost like a Stark, right? Because the Stark kids
Those.
were like
Yeah.
brothers and sisters to him. So that would, if he thinks that Theon killed Bran and Rickon, which most people do, that would explain the Kinslayer thing.
Right. I think that's a great theory you have. Because even Lady Dustin is wondering where Ned Stark's bones are.
Yeah,
You know, because she might want to do something terrible to him because her husband's bones never came back to her. So I find that to be a really interesting theory. Like, why do they bring that part up with her if this person who has Ned's bone isn't going to come back into the story?
yeah, they bring it up in the same chapter actually,
Exactly.
because Lady Dustin tells Theon that if Ned Stark's bones should emerge from the neck, which is the area
Hmm.
where he was last seen, uh, the escorts will be prevented from going north of Barrowton.
Right.
So I'm thinking he might have maybe the escort is at Barrowton, right? But
Right.
he went north to basically scout, sneak in.
Yep. I
You
mean,
know,
he
it,
would have got information. He would have known what happened.
yeah,
You
exactly.
know, the red wedding happened.
And
He,
yeah,
hiding for a bit, right?
yeah. So maybe he's taking a bit of revenge here and there. Just
Right.
well, learning what's happened. But that's just my theory, though. I could be completely wrong,
Right.
but it could also be Howland Reed.
Wow, I never thought of that.
Would be a great way to introduce him. No,
Yeah. Yeah.
everyone's waiting to see Howland Reed get introduced, and he's already been there for a whole book.
Chronic men, they wear hoods, don't they?
Yes, they do,
I never thought about that.
and and they fight dirty.
Yes.
They they're not stand up fighters. I mean, he stabbed what was it, Arthur Dane in the back.
Well, we get that in the show, but I'm
Yeah,
guessing Ned does tell us without Howland Reed, he wouldn't have won. And everybody else talks about it as a stand up, one-on-one battle, but Ned never admits to that.
yeah,
So I could easily see what happened in the show actually happening in the book. Somehow Howland Reed just, I mean, it's war, man. You're gonna kill
yeah,
whoever you can kill. Why let your lord, you're a banner man of get killed by the greatest swordsman in the land? I would double team the guy. Well, that almost came out wrong. I would attack him from the back with a knife.
yeah.
I just want to make
So
sure Stephen Walton ain't out there making fun of me.
yeah,
And I would kill him.
I'm leaning towards Hallis Mullen or Howland Reed.
Right. Right. Because I mean, really, who else could it be other than them? Or, I mean, it could be, you do notice that sometimes Theon, as Reek, even Theon in the Stannis chapter of the sample chapter of Winds of Winter, he might have been with Stannis for a while, but he doesn't know where he is when he wakes up. He's all, so maybe it could be Mance disguising his voice. I just don't think it is. Everyone assumes it is, but Mance has the spear wives doing what he needs to have done. This hooded figure is somebody else.
Yeah, yeah. I think Howland Reed has to show up at some point.
Right. He has to make his entrance somehow, and It could be in the next one. Stannis is having a little bit of trouble getting in, getting Winterfell. The Bolton spring a trap on him, and out of nowhere, the Cragnon, their army comes up. I don't know. He has to make an entrance because we've heard so much about him. And then don't forget, there are people that Rob sent to him before the Red Wedding with his we believe is his will.
Yeah, and that would actually solve a lot of things because let's say Winterfell falls,
Mm-hmm.
Stannis takes it, the guy shows up with Rob's will, and then Davos shows up with Rickon.
Right.
So that's
New,
a lot of threads tied up right there, right?
Yeah.
Which is what he needs to do soon.
Well, because you got to think about it this way: with everything going on with Winterfell and Ned Stark's one of his best friends and one of his most loyal bannermen has still not made his presence known. Never sent men, only sent his kids to help Bran because of the green site that Jojen had, and he knew he
Yeah,
needed that. So maybe because of that green site, he knows even more. That's what's going to happen.
yeah,
He
because
knows.
Jojen could have told him all kinds of stuff.
Right,
So
exactly.
maybe he sends Jojen and Mira to help Bran, and he positions himself at Winterfell to help Rickon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Also a theory.
You have another theory you're saying?
No, uh,
Reaching for it.
yeah, it's. I'm for now. I'm sticking with the Howland Reed or Hallis Mullen.
Okay. Okay. Now, he did say, doesn't he say the man's like thin, right? It's a certain gaunt. So it can't be like some people I've heard people even say it's crow food, sneaking around trying to help out Stannis and the Umbers outside, but it can't be, right? I mean, because crow food's inside, correct? Yeah, crow food's inside Winterfell with the old men of the Umbers, and whoever's with Stannis has the young boys. If I'm screwing that up, someone let me know. But I'm pretty sure crow food because doesn't because Theon talks about his eye, reminding him of his uncle. So yes,
Oh,
he's inside Winterfell.
there's a hint. There's a hint. Well, several hints. He's hooded and he has a dagger, right?
Right.
And he also recognizes Theon, and he's hostile towards him.
Yes.
Uh, and Theon shows him his left hand, and the man laughs and allows him to continue serving Ramsay Bolton. So he's basically pretty much saying, you're getting what you deserved. I'm not going to stop it.
Right.
So if he hadn't seen the hand, he might have killed him.
Right. Right. He probably would have, being a kinslayer and
Yeah.
being angry with him. And then he sees the hand and he knows he's being tortured. He's no longer Theon. So why help him? There's no reason to help that. He knows he's getting his just rewards. I think that's a valid point too.
Yeah, and he says Theon Turncloak, Theon Kinslayer.
Yes.
And then Theon says, he didn't. He was Ironborn, meaning he hasn't betrayed any of his kin.
Right.
And the guy says he was always false,
Right.
which could mean that it's because he betrayed Rob.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Rob was like his brother and he betrayed him.
Yeah, and
So,
then he says, Ramsay's not done with me or whatever, and the
mhm,
guy says, I'll leave you to him then,
right.
meaning, I think he was planning on killing him right there and then, in that, because he could barely see,
Right.
could have stabbed him, right, done with him,
Right.
but then he realizes, yeah, him being alive is more punishment than killing him.
Right. I think
So
you have a
it's,
valid point, man.
which is which means he's probably loyal to the Starks,
Mm-hmm.
which would mean Hallis Mullen,
Okay.
because he's a
Yeah.
Stark man,
He's a
right?
Stark
So
man, dude, and he knows what he did.
yeah, that's another point in his direction.
Right. I like that. I'm telling you. I think you have a really good. I haven't heard that theory. Now, is that something you thought of, or maybe based upon somebody else's theory you came up with it? Or
I looked at a lot of theories,
mm-hmm.
skimmed through them, and that one caught my eye.
Right.
So I looked up Hallis Mullen, and then I looked at the Theon encounter again with the hooded
Mm-hmm.
man.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
I think
um,
that's a really good one, man. It makes a lot of sense. Because I don't feel the why wouldn't he not know Mance's voice? You know, like people never talk about that part of it. They all just think it's Mance sneaking around doing the murders. I think Mance would have had his women doing the murders. Those
yeah,
spear wives are very capable of killing people.
yeah, and I don't think Mance would know what Theon has done
Right.
unless he's figured it out through talking to people at Winterfell. But um, no, this guy has it in for Theon for what he did with the Starks or
Yeah.
to the Starks.
Yep. I'm with you on that. I think that's a good one.
Oh,
Sonny. I like what Sonny said. You never know. Could it be the blackfish?
yeah,
You know,
absolutely could be.
the blackfish is missing at the moment.
Yeah, he is. Hasn't been. I don't think he's even been mentioned, other
Last time,
than he ran away or something.
right? The black was he even okay? So I know we confuse the show confuses stuff with the books. I know the blackfish was with Liza in the Erie. He was the he was one of like the guards of the gate. Um, did he go when Holster Tully died? Did he go back to River Run? Was he the one sieging that? Was it him or his men siege that Jamie was going to break the siege? I don't remember.
Um,
I thought he was always escaped in and no one they thought he was running around the Riverlands or I don't remember if he actually oh god, that part is blanking. I don't remember if
I'll look it up.
yeah, because why not go to Winterfell knowing everything he knows? He is a very he is an older guy, but he's still a skilled warrior. You know, why not the Ghost of Winterfell be him? He is family of the Starks. His niece was a Stark, and they killed his great,
No,
grandnieces and
he's
nephews.
at River Run.
So he
Uh,
definitely is still at River Run.
yeah, he's holding the castle in Rob's name.
Okay, all right,
Um,
and that's the siege that Jamie.
5. He's been declared an outlaw.
Right.
Um, so he is still on the run. Um, yeah, but he escapes River Run
That's
by
what.
swimming under the portcullis.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, and they do that thing in the show where he dies off screen, which I can't stand. Um, but yeah, he's somewhere in the he could easily have gotten up to Winterfell. No one would have known who he is there. You know,
Yeah, but it's like, where the hell would he go though? He's alone.
right?
He has a bone to grind with both the Lannisters, the Freys,
Yep,
and the Boltons. So I'm thinking why would he
not
go to the ones that are furthest away?
right.
I don't know.
That's a. I mean, it's something to think about.
Well, to be fair, Roose Bolton was the one who stabbed Rob to death.
Right.
and he seems to be pissed off at turncloaks and all that. So
Right.
who knows? It's as good a theory as any.
Wait a minute. Was he at the Red Wedding and escaped that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think he was, wasn't he? I am so confused right now. There's certain
No,
he didn't
he
go.
no, he remains at River Run.
Okay. Okay. So then, but he is an outlaw now. Why not? I mean, if he did leave, he escaped there. You got the Boltons, you got the Freys, and they took your favorite grandniece's castle after they betrayed her, slit her throat, and killed his king.
Yeah.
Why not? I mean, it's something to think about. I never thought about
Yeah,
that.
because he's Catelyn's brother, isn't she? Isn't
Yes.
he?
No. Catelyn's uncle.
Yeah, uncle. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And he's also I want to say he was a Targaryen loyalist, but we never really hear that. But I always thought he was. But that'll be for another day. I don't know if I have much more to speak on it. Do you?
Um, no, not
No.
really.
So we could wrap this one up. And what would we like to talk about next week? Maybe
Uh,
keep it in the north.
yeah, Jon Snow being a Targaryen, maybe the crypts of Winterfell.
Yep. Yep. The Crypts of
Lot to,
Winterfell is a good one.
lot
Uh,
to dig in to in the crypts.
yeah. You're going to have to get back in those.
Yeah,
And maybe a little bit more on what's going on in the marsh, because
yeah, maybe more Howland Reed.
yeah, yeah, because there are people that were supposed to be with him, and
Yeah,
there's some missing Mormonts, missing people. You never know. So
yeah,
we're gonna call it an end here, a little shorter of our stream tonight. If you guys have any ideas or any questions about the crypts, about the marsh and Howland Reed, even you could even go up to John. What's going to go on with John? Because I don't think we really talked about when we were at the wall what's going to happen with John. We
oh,
did
we
touch
did.
on it. Oh yeah, we
Oh,
did,
yes.
didn't we? We
Oh,
went into
big
great
time.
detail. We went in great detail with that.
Yeah.
What about Rickon? You never know.
Oh,
So
how about this?
yeah.
Rickon and at Skagos
Mm-hmm.
and Howland Reed,
Okay.
because they're on each side of Winterfell, really, kind
Oh,
of.
and then oh yeah, next week. Oh shoot, next week is our book club. So that'll be 2 weeks from now. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah, because
Um.
we're doing the first 20 chapters of Game of Thrones Book One,
Yes. And
including the prologue. So
right.
basically, 21 chapters, and no spoilers for that one because people are reading it for the first time. So we'll only talk about the first chapters.
Right. Another monster. Gary is a busy guy. He says he even told me he'd like to jump on all these streams if he could. But if he can, I'm going to send him a message. I'm going to verify, let him know it's definitely next week. Cause he said he wanted to definitely be part of the book club. I can't, the guy, when he jumps on, he'll jump on. I hope he will be here. Fingers crossed, but I'm not going to speak for him until he's actually on the stream. Sonny Franks, thank you I really appreciate you guys, Sonny and Another Monster and everybody
Yeah,
else who stopped by. You guys, I really appreciate you guys listening to us kind of just ramble our thoughts out and talk about these things while we're
yeah.
going live. It means a lot to us.
And it's always great when you guys chime in.
Yes.
Absolutely. So keep
Yeah.
doing that.
Right. This is more of a stream where if you guys ask questions, we will dissect those questions. So if you
Yeah,
have questions about Rickon next week, if you have questions about Howland Reed, and maybe even the Crips, if you have questions on the Crips, throw those questions or
yeah.
remember write them
But
not
our
next week. Next
but
week's
our
the
but our answer on that subject will be cryptic.
Cryptic. That's 2 weeks from now. I'm sorry. The book club though is next week. So have any questions you have for chapter 1 through 20. And I hope everyone gets a chance. Listen to it on Audible, reread it if you can, find it somewhere else. Hint, hint. There are versions of it, and enjoy it. And I really hope you're all here, and I hope you take care of yourselves. Be safe, everybody, and have a great night. Thanks, Stig, for stopping in, my friend. I really appreciate doing this with you.
Oh, I am having a blast.
All right. I'll see you next week, buddy. Good night,
Take care
everybody.
and be well.
Yes. Everyone, be safe. If I hit the right button, we will actually end.
Winter is coming.